10 billion packs. That number crossed earlier this year, and it still doesn't feel real, so here's a way to make it land. Buldak has now sold more packs than there are people on Earth, and it's still accelerating. The company behind it just crossed $1.4 billion in annual revenue for the first time in its history, built almost entirely on one product that didn't exist 14 years ago. And the wildest part of all of it is that none of this was inevitable. This whole empire traces back to a single decision made by one person who noticed a line outside a restaurant in Seoul and asked a question most executives never think to ask. This is the story of how that happened. And then, after we walk through it, we're going to rank the flavors properly with the confusable ones actually sorted out, because a lot of videos get that part wrong, and the comments will tell you so. We're covering the full arc here. Where it came from, how it went global, and which flavors are actually worth buying versus which ones you can skip. And there's one flavor at the end of this ranking that almost nobody talks about, but keeps showing up as a quiet favorite. We'll get there. Before we get into any of that, you need to understand what Buldak actually is, because most people who eat it regularly do not know the full story of the company behind it. Samyang Foods made Korea's very first instant ramen back in 1963, but by the 2000s, it had long been overshadowed by bigger rivals. For decades, Samyang was just kind of there, a legacy brand that people knew but did not really care about. The company that invented Korean instant noodles was watching younger, flashier competitors eat its lunch, and then things got worse before they got better. Kim Jung-soo, daughter of the founder and an executive who had been with the company since the early 1990s, became CEO in 2010. She stepped into a company that needed a direction, and she found one in a place nobody expected. She had been tracking a particular consumer pattern. Korean diners were increasingly seeking out extra spicy food as a stress coping behavior, and a small Seoul restaurant in Myeongdong had been generating lines around the block for a fire chicken dish that was almost punishingly hot. That detail matters. She was not sitting in a boardroom guessing what people might want. She was watching real behavior. People voluntarily standing in line to eat something that hurt them. 2 tons of sauce and over 1,000 chickens were used to develop the recipe. Kim sent Samyang's R&D team to study the dish, and on April 16, 2012, the company launched Buldak Ramen, Fire Chicken Stir-Fried Noodle. And here's the thing about that launch that most people miss. The product is famous for its extreme spiciness, but its composition of dried noodles, a spicy sauce packet, and dried vegetable flakes, along with a preparation method that involves stir-frying instead of boiling in soup, distinguishes it from traditional instant noodles. You drain most of the water and coat the noodles in sauce. Broth gives spice room to spread out. Buldak sauce sits right on the noodles. The heat clings to every bite, and the flavor has nowhere to hide. That's the whole product in one sentence. So Samyang launches this thing in 2012, and for about 2 years, it's doing okay. It's selling. Koreans are buying it. But it's not a phenomenon yet. It's just a very spicy noodle on a shelf in a country full of spicy food. Then 2014 happened. The Fire Noodle Challenge was started in February 2014 by popular YouTuber Korean Englishman. After receiving mail from fans, Josh noticed that many of the mailed packages contained fire chicken noodles. Soon after receiving the noodles, Josh challenged some of his friends in the UK to finish a serving. Being a YouTuber, the cameras were rolling, and Josh captured viral video gold as he and his friends tried to make their way through the spicy noodles. Once the video was edited, Josh uploaded it onto YouTube, and thus began the Fire Noodle Challenge. The premise was almost insultingly simple. Just try to finish an entire serving without reaching for water. That's it. No prize, no cash. Just the challenge of finishing a bowl of noodles while your face betrayed you in front of the entire internet. And it worked because the format was perfect for the platform. Short, visual, dramatic, with a clear outcome. You either made it or you didn't. Later that year, U.S. competitive eater Matt Stoney scarfed 15 packets in a video with over 145 million views, and then the whole thing cascaded. People filmed themselves sweating, crying, and laughing while trying to finish the ultra-spicy noodles, and soon, the challenge spread worldwide. International YouTubers joined in, boosting global awareness. Here's the part that makes this story genuinely interesting from a business standpoint. Samyang didn't invent the challenge, didn't sponsor it, and for the first couple of years, mostly just watched its export numbers climb and wondered what was happening. The company that had been losing ground for decades suddenly had a global marketing campaign it didn't pay for. By 2014, the Fire Noodle challenge video format had spread the product globally. By 2018, Samyang's overseas revenue had multiplied 25 times. Read that again. 25 times in 4 years. The company's public timeline records rapid export milestones. $100 million in 2017, $200 million in 2018, $300 million in 2021, $400 million in 2022, $700 million in 2024, and $900 million in 2025. Each one of those numbers represents a new ceiling that nobody thought they'd hit, and then they hit the next one anyway. The export to domestic revenue ratio inverted in 2018. Samyang now sells more product outside Korea than inside, a position no other Korean food brand has matched at scale. Think about what that means. The company that makes this thing sells most of it to people who aren't Korean, in countries where Korean food wasn't even a mainstream category a decade ago. And then the TikTok era hit, and things got even stranger. What really pulled Buldak into mainstream Western shelves was the mukbang scene. Korean creators streaming themselves eating piles of buldak built a parasocial appetite for the noodles, long before they were widely stocked at Walmart, Costco, and Tesco. As K-pop and K-drama opened doors to Korean culture in the late 2010s, Buldak rode that wave. Samyang's Fire Noodles have passed 8 billion cumulative packs sold across roughly 100 countries, and in the US, the Carbonara flavor keeps selling out. Bloomberg even reported a 7-year-old in San Antonio crying with joy after getting Buldak Carbonara as a birthday present. That is not normal behavior for a product that's been around for 13 years. That's brand loyalty at a level that food companies spend billions trying to manufacture and almost never achieve. There was even a moment where the notoriety got pushed even further. In 2024, Danish food authorities recalled the spiciest versions over capsaicin levels. Headlines went global, and spice fans everywhere immediately went looking for the banned noodles. Denmark later reversed most of the recall, and the episode only made the brand more famous. You literally cannot buy this kind of press. So where does the company stand right now? The company posted record sales last year and is expected to top 3 trillion won, about $2 billion, this year. Quarter 1, 2026 sales came in at 714.4 billion Korean won, and operating profit was 177.1 billion Korean won, both described as quarterly records. Cumulative sales reached 8 billion units as of the first half of last year, with about 80% sold overseas. Koreans call it the Buldak universe, roughly 50 spin-off products and counting. Sauces, fried rice, mac and cheese, dumplings, tteokbokki. The noodle became a platform. And that brings us to the part of this video that a lot of people came here for. Because the ranking is where things get genuinely interesting, and where a lot of other videos have gotten it wrong. Before we get into it, quick one. If this kind of deep dive is your thing, subscribing means you won't miss the next one. But you're here for the ranking, so let's not waste the moment. Let's rank these things. Here's the deal with the Buldak flavor lineup. There are currently 16 active Buldak flavors available internationally. Original, 2 times spicy, cheese, quattro cheese, carbonara, cream carbonara, kimchi, jajang, tom yum, curry, habanero lime, rose, stew type, tomato pasta, corn, and yakisoba. We're not going to go through every single one, but we're going to cover the ones that actually matter and the ones that confuse people, because there are 2 pairs of flavors that have tripped up multiple production teams on YouTube, and the comments let them know about it every time. The first thing you need to understand before we rank anything is how the heat actually works. The original spicy chicken sits at approximately 4,404 Scoville heat units. That's the baseline. Carbonara is the mildest Buldak flavor at approximately 2,000 Scoville heat units. The creamy sauce significantly reduces the perceived heat compared to the original, and 2 times spicy is roughly double the original, which sounds manageable until you're 10 bites in and reconsidering your life choices. Keep those numbers in your head as we go through this. One more distinction while we're here, because this is the other pair that trips people up. Original spicy chicken is not the same thing as Swicy, Buldak's sweet and spicy line. Original is straight heat, full stop. Swicy dials in real sweetness alongside the fire, and it is not a milder version, it just spreads the sensation out differently instead of hitting all at once. If you've seen a review swap those two, that's the tell they didn't do the homework. And 2 more worth knowing about, even though they're not on this list. 2 times spicy and the newer 3 times spicy, which go past original in raw heat and deserve their own video entirely. Quattro cheese, stew type, corn, and yakisoba are also out there. Solid, just not contenders for a worst to best list like this one. Starting from the bottom of the ranking, tom yum lands at the bottom, and it's not because it's bad, it's because it's confused. The flavor profile is interesting in theory, but it fights itself. The lemongrass and lime notes from the tom yum tradition don't naturally want to live with the concentrated fire chicken sauce underneath. It ends up tasting like 2 separate bowls, decided to merge without agreeing on anything. If you're a tom yum soup person, this will disappoint you. If you're a Buldak person, you'll probably just want the original. It's a novelty that doesn't quite land. Tomato pasta is next, and this one is genuinely divisive. It somewhat resembles a spicy tomato sauce, but with more heat than an Italian sauce like arrabbiata, and a little bit of sweetness. Some say it slightly resembles Filipino spaghetti. That's actually a good way to frame it. If you go in expecting marinara, you'll be thrown off. If you go in expecting something sweet and tangy with heat underneath, it's more enjoyable than its reputation suggests. Still not a top-shelf pick, but it's not the skip that some people make it out to be. Now here's the first place where the naming gets confusing, and this is where other videos have gotten called out publicly. Carbonara and cream carbonara are not the same flavor. They are genuinely different products, and the distinction matters. The Carbonara Buldak Ramen flavor blends the brand's signature fiery spice with a rich, cheesy sauce. A major benefit of this flavor is that the creamy sauce dulls the heat from the spice a little, which makes it one of the most approachable of all Buldak flavors. It's the recommended starting point for anyone with low spice tolerance or trying Buldak for the first time. Think of it as spicy mac and cheese that's gone slightly Korean. It's a crowd pleaser, it's widely available, and it's the flavor that has made Buldak a household name in the US. The cream carbonara option is slightly different. This ramen is a little creamier than the regular carbonara, and it has a tasty flavor profile with a slight pork edge to balance out the cheesiness. Don't be fooled by the creaminess though. It's spicy and gets hotter every few seconds. Cream carbonara is the more sophisticated version of the two. It's richer, heavier, and it has more going on. If you've had regular carbonara and liked it, cream carbonara is the logical next step. It ranks higher in this list because it rewards you with more complexity, but but it also demands more from you in terms of heat tolerance. Both of these are worth having. Neither of them is the same thing. If you see a video ranking one and calling it the other, the comments already know. Habanero lime sits in the middle of this ranking and deserves more credit than it usually gets. The citrus element does something interesting here. It cuts through the heat in a way that makes each bite feel cleaner than you'd expect. Habanero lime Buldak Ramen pairs exceptionally well with grilled chicken, making it one of the flavors you can enjoy on its own or with added toppings for a complete meal. It's the most Western palate-friendly of the spicier options. And if you're the kind of person who puts lime on everything, this one was made for you. Cheese comes in above habanero lime, and it surprises people. Surprisingly hot. Despite the cheese powder, the dairy doesn't reduce the heat as much as you'd expect. This is a common misconception with the cheese flavor. People assume the cheese is going to calm things down. It doesn't really. What it does is add a layer of savory depth that makes the heat more interesting rather than less intense. It's the flavor that hooks people who think they want something mild and then realize they actually want something good. Rose is next, and this one has been unfairly maligned. One video in particular ranked it near the bottom, and the comments corrected that immediately. It's one of the highest-selling flavors in US chains for a reason. Rose sits around 4,000 to 5,000 estimated Scoville heat units. The creaminess helps, but there's genuine fire underneath. The sauce is a pinkish cream base, hence the name, a reference to rose sauce in pasta, and it has a smooth, almost velvety texture that makes the heat feel approachable without being boring. It's the flavor that people who think they don't like buldak end up liking. It's also one of the better-looking bowls if you're making it at home. Quick pause here. If you've seen rose ranked near the bottom somewhere else, now you know why that's wrong. Drop a comment on where you actually saw that take because it happens more than you'd think. Jajang is where things get serious for people who actually know Korean food. The black bean sauce doesn't temper the spice much. It's full buldak heat with added complexity. Jajang is a Korean Chinese noodle dish, traditionally served with a thick black bean sauce that's savory and slightly sweet. The buldak version takes that flavor profile and runs it through the fire chicken machine. The result is something darker and more savory than any other flavor in the lineup. It's not for everyone, but the people who love it tend to be loyal to it. Multiple flavor rankings across the internet have jajang as a long-term staple pick. Not a novelty, not a trend, just a consistently excellent option that rewards people who come back to it. Kimchi sits just below the top two, and it's earned its spot. The fermentation adds perceived heat, but it's actually moderate. The sour notes make it feel spicier than it is. What makes kimchi stand out is the complexity. You get the funk and the tang from the fermentation, the fire from the buldak sauce, and this interesting back and forth between sour and spicy that keeps your palate engaged all the way through. It's one of those flavors that gets better the more you eat it, which is exactly what you want from something you're going to keep buying. Second place goes to curry, and this is the one almost nobody talks about but should. Curry has been consistently praised in taste tests for its balance. It doesn't try to be the hottest thing on the shelf, and it doesn't try to be a novelty. The warming spices amplify the heat sensation in a way that feels natural rather than aggressive. The curry flavor has actual depth. You taste it in layers instead of all at once. It's the flavor that people who have eaten their way through the entire lineup tend to land on as their everyday pick. Not the flashiest, not the most viral, just quietly, consistently excellent. And the number one spot goes to the original. Here's why. Every other flavor in the buldak lineup is a variation on a theme. The original is the theme. Original buldak is the best first pick if you want the classic fire noodle experience, but it's also the best last pick if you want to understand what everything else is riffing on. The original packet packs roughly 4,404 Scoville units, hot enough to push tears from even seasoned spice lovers. It's the one that started the Fire Noodle challenge. It's the one that built the empire. And it's still the one that, when you cook it right, drained properly, sauce fully incorporated, sesame seeds on top, delivers the most satisfying bowl in the lineup. Everything else is interesting. The original is correct. One quick note on cooking, because this is another place where people get it wrong. And the comment sections notice. Buldak is stir-fry ramen, not soup ramen. You cook the noodles, drain most of the water, then coat them in sauce. If you're making it soupy, you're not making it wrong, but you're not making it the way it was designed. The sauce is built to cling. Let it. So here's where we landed. The full picture of Buldak is a 60-year-old company that invented Korean instant noodles, almost faded into irrelevance, got rescued by one person who noticed a line outside a restaurant, launched a product in 2012, and then watched the internet do the rest of the work for free. Samyang Foods has turned it into one of Korea's most successful global food brands. For a 60-year-old company that once trailed its domestic rivals, Buldak didn't just become a hit product, it became the company. The ranking, from bottom to top: Tom Yum, tomato pasta, carbonara, cream carbonara, habanero lime, cheese, rose, jajang, kimchi, curry, and the original at the top. That's the list, and those are the reasons. Drop your ranking in the comments. Specifically, where does curry land for you? Because that's the one that splits people the most. And if you've never had it, that's actually your homework before the next video. If you want to keep going, we've got another video right there that goes deep on a product story just like this one. Different category, same kind of wild history behind it. It's worth your time.